The galactic summit's kitchens gleamed like surgical theaters, cold and sterile, where food was fuel and flavor was weakness. Princess Naira of the Azurian Empire had traveled 12 light years to reject Earth's petition for membership, her disgust for human customs already carved in stone. But when a single father with calloused hands and a cast-iron skillet refused to serve her the synthetic proteins she demanded, something shifted in the air, a scent, a sizzle, a quiet rebellion that would crack open her empire's oldest lies. Before we dive in, let us know where you're watching from. And if stories like this move you, hit that subscribe button because tomorrow's episode is even more unbelievable than this one. The summit hall stretched like a canyon of glass and chrome, its walls humming with the translations of 1,000 species. Delegates wore their superiority like second skins, scales glittering, membranes pulsing, voices layered in harmonics that made human speech sound like gravel scraping stone. And beneath it all, buried 3 levels down where the air tasted of steam and steel, Gabriel Santos stood in a kitchen the galaxy had already dismissed. His hands moved with the economy of a man who had learned to waste nothing, not time, not motion, not the last years he had with his daughter. The white chef's coat hung loose on shoulders that had once carried Michelin stars like medals but now carried only the weight of purpose. His station was clean, organized, humble. A cutting board, scarred by 10,000 knife strokes, a cast-iron skillet, seasoned to black glass. Tools the ambassadors upstairs would call primitive. Luna sat on a stool in the corner, legs swinging, her school tablet forgotten in her lap. 8 years old and fearless in the way children are before the world teaches them to be small. She watched her father the way sailors watch the North Star, with a trust that needed no questions. The kitchen staff moved around them like a nervous river. Human cooks, their faces tight with the knowledge that tonight's meal could determine whether Earth joined the Galactic Council or remained quarantined in its own solar system for another century. Dr. Yuki Tanaka had made that clear in her briefing, her voice brittle with desperation. Impress them. Show them we're civilized. Show them we're worth the risk. Gabriel had nodded and said nothing. He knew what they wanted. Molecular gastronomy, foams and gels, food that looked like art and tasted like submission. But submission had never been his language. The order came through on a holographic display that shimmered above the prep station. Princess Naira of the Azurian Empire. Dietary requirements: synthetic protein blend, nutrient optimization, cultural preference for textureless sustenance. The note at the bottom, added by Dr. Tanaka in all capitals, read, "Do not divide it. Her approval is everything." Gabriel looked at the display for a long moment. Then he reached into the walk-in cooler and pulled out a ribeye. 2 inches thick, marbled like a river delta, cold as a promise. He set it on the counter, and Luna's eyes went wide. "Daddy," she whispered. "That's not what they ordered." Gabriel smiled, soft as a hand on a forehead checking for fever. "No, sweetheart. It's not." The elevator descended with a whisper, carrying judgment in the shape of emerald skin and crystalline robes. Princess Naira of the Azurian Empire stood perfectly still, her luminescent green complexion catching the light like polished jade. Ambassador Vexian flanked her, his blue-tinted form taller, his eyes scanning every surface for threats that did not exist. They moved through the summit like weather, inevitable and indifferent. Dr. Tanaka met them at the kitchen entrance. Her smile stretched too thin, her bow too deep. She had practiced this moment in mirrors for weeks, trying to look confident, while begging, "Your Highness, we are honored. Our chef has prepared something special for your arrival." Naira's eyes, violet and cold as distant nebulae, swept the kitchen without interest. "We require only what was specified. Synthetic blend. Optimized. Of course. But if you would consider..." "We do not consider." Naira's voice carried the weight of empires that had never been questioned. "Earth's petition rests on your ability to follow simple instructions. We will dine in the observation hall. Deliver what was ordered." She turned, robes flowing like liquid starlight. Vexian followed, but not before his gaze lingered on Gabriel, who stood at his station with the ribeye resting on a wire rack, patient as a man who had learned to wait for ovens and daughters in equal measure. "Doctor." Tanaka's face went pale. She crossed the kitchen in 4 quick steps, her heels clicking like a countdown. "Santos, what is that?" "Dinner," Gabriel said quietly. "That is not what she ordered. That is not what we discussed. That is not." Her voice cracked. "Do you understand what you're risking? Not just for yourself, but for every human being on this planet?" Gabriel met her eyes, and something in his stillness made her step back. "I understand," he said, "but I also understand that if we start by lying about who we are, we'll spend the rest of our lives pretending. This isn't philosophy. This is survival. It's both." Luna watched from her corner, her small hands gripping the edge of her stool. She had seen this look before, on the night her father had walked away from his restaurant, walked away from fame, walked away from everything except her. The look that said some things matter more than safety. Dr. Tanaka's hands trembled. "If you serve that, she will reject us. She will leave. And Earth will be alone for another 100 years. Gabriel lifted the ribeye with tongs, placed it gently in a low oven, the kind of heat that would take time, that would require patience, that would refuse to be rushed. Then let her leave knowing what she's walking away from. The door sealed behind Dr. Tanaka with a hiss like a last breath. And in the kitchen, the only sound was the gentle whisper of meat beginning its slow transformation. The observation hall crowned the summit like a jewel box, its dome transparent to the cosmos, stars scattered like salt across black silk. Delegates reclined on gravity-adjusted seating, their forms adapted to a dozen different atmospheric pressures. Princess Naira sat at the center, elevated, her throne carved from crystallized nebula dust that pulsed with her heartbeat. Ambassador Vexian stood 2 steps behind, his posture perfect, his attention absolute. Servers moved through the hall carrying trays of synthetic sustenance, cubes and spheres that glowed with nutritional precision. Each delegate received their optimized blend, food reduced to mathematics, pleasure erased in favor of efficiency. The Azurians had introduced this practice 3 centuries ago, had convinced half the galaxy that taste was primitive, that cooking was the work of lesser species still trapped in their animal past. Dr. Tanaka entered with a tray, her hands steady through sheer force of will. On it sat a small bowl of pale gel, precisely measured, exactly what had been ordered. She approached the throne with the careful steps of someone crossing thin ice. "Your Highness," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. "Your meal." Naira glanced at the bowl without interest. "Leave it." But before Dr. Tanaka could retreat, the kitchen doors opened. Gabriel emerged, Luna walking beside him, her small hand wrapped around his. He carried no tray, only a single plate, and on that plate rested the ribeye, its surface seared to a crust dark as midnight, its center the exact temperature of promise kept. The hall went silent. Conversations died mid-word, even the ambient hum of the building seemed to hold its breath. Dr. Tanaka's face went white. "Santos, no." Gabriel walked past her, his daughter's hand warm in his, her trust a weight he carried, gladly. He climbed the steps to Naira's throne with the unhurried pace of a man who had made his choice and would not unmake it. Vexian moved, his hand reaching for a weapon that diplomacy forbade him to carry. But Naira raised one elegant finger and he froze. Gabriel set the plate before her. The ribeye rested in its own juices, steam rising like prayers, the smell of it filling the dome with something the hall had forgotten. Maillard reaction. Caramelization. The transformation of simple things into sustenance that spoke to something deeper than hunger. "I did not order this," Naira said, her voice ice over stone. "No," Gabriel agreed. "You ordered efficiency. I brought you dinner." Luna squeezed his hand. Around them, delegates leaned forward, their various appendages tensing, their translators struggling with the weight of what was happening. A human refusing a princess. A chef defying an empire. Naira's violet eyes locked onto Gabriel's, searching for fear and finding only patience. "You would risk your world's future on meat?" Gabriel smiled, soft as goodnight kisses. "I would risk it on truth." He gestured to the ribeye. "This is who we are. Not perfect, not optimized, but real." Luna had been silent through the ascent, through the stares of 1,000 alien eyes, through the moment her father placed rebellion on a plate. But now, standing beside Naira's throne with her small hand still wrapped in his calloused one, she looked up at the princess with the fearless curiosity of a child who had not yet learned that questions could be dangerous. "Why don't you like food?" Luna asked. The hall rippled. Gasps in languages Gabriel didn't speak. Dr. Tanaka made a sound like a small animal dying. Vexian's hand twitched toward where his weapon would have been. But Naira's gaze dropped from Gabriel to the child, and something flickered behind the violet ice. "I do not dislike it," Naira said slowly. "I simply do not require it in the form you present." "But have you tried it?" Luna tilted her head. "Daddy says you can't know if you don't like something until you actually taste it. He made me try Brussels sprouts 7 times before I was allowed to say I didn't like them." A sound escaped from somewhere in the delegates section. It might have been laughter. It died quickly under Vexian's glare. Naira's fingers, long and elegant, drummed once against her throne. "Your world's customs are not ours. We evolved beyond the need for such indulgences millennia ago." "That's sad," Luna said simply. The word landed like a stone in still water. Naira's luminescent skin flickered, a tell Gabriel recognized from years of reading faces across kitchen passes. Anger, yes, but beneath it something else, something wounded. "Sad?" Naira repeated. "My mom used to make pancakes," Luna said, her voice smaller now but steady. "Every Sunday, with blueberries. She died 3 years ago and I miss her every day, but when Daddy makes pancakes the way she did, I can remember what her laugh sounded like. If food was just nutrition, I wouldn't have that." She looked at the ribeye, then back to Naira. "Don't you have anything you miss?" The hall held its breath. Gabriel's hand tightened around his daughter's, proud and terrified in equal measure. This was not what he had planned. This was better and more dangerous than anything he could have orchestrated. Naira sat perfectly still, her crystalline robes refracting starlight into patterns that shifted like emotions she would not name. When she spoke, her voice carried a weight it had not held before. "The Azurian Empire does not indulge in nostalgia. We perfected ourselves. We removed weakness." "Is remembering people you love a weakness?" Luna asked. Silence. The kind that presses on eardrums and chest cavities. The kind that precedes either violence or transformation. Naira's eyes moved from the child to the father to the plate between them. The ribeye had stopped steaming, but its smell remained, animal and honest. The opposite of everything her empire had built itself upon. "You are a peculiar species," Naira said finally. Gabriel smiled. "We've been called worse." And in that moment, something shifted in the princess's face. Naira's hand moved, not toward a weapon or a dismissal, but toward the plate. Her fingers hovered above the ribeye, hesitant as a bird considering whether to land. Around the observation hall, delegates leaned forward, their various respiratory systems accelerating. Some had never seen their princess uncertain. Uncertainty was not programmed into Azurian royalty. "How do I?" she began, then stopped. The question itself, an admission of something forgotten. Gabriel reached into his coat pocket and produced a knife and fork, simple steel worn smooth by use. He set them beside the plate with the gentle precision of a man placing instruments in a surgeon's hand. "Cut against the grain," he said quietly. "The muscle fibers run this way. Slice perpendicular. It'll be tender." Naira stared at the utensils as if they were artifacts from a dead civilization. Which, Gabriel supposed, they were to her. Vexian stepped forward, his voice urgent. "Your Highness, This is unnecessary. We have what we came for, proof of Earth's inability to follow protocol. We can leave now. But Naira did not rise. Her hand closed around the fork, the grip awkward, unpracticed. She had likely not held one in her entire life. Luna watched with the intensity of a child witnessing magic. The princess cut. The knife sank through the crust with a whisper, revealing the interior, pink as dawn, the exact gradient from edge to center that Gabriel had spent 40 years learning to achieve. 129 degrees Fahrenheit in the core, hot enough to be safe, cool enough to be perfect. The temperature of trust made physical. Naira lifted a piece. It trembled slightly on the fork. Around her, the hall had gone so quiet that Gabriel could hear his own heartbeat, could hear Luna's breath, could hear the distant hum of the station's life support choosing this moment to sound like a chorus holding a note. The princess ate, her eyes closed. Not in disgust, but in something that looked like pain. Her luminescent skin flickered through colors Gabriel had not seen before. Deep purples and golds. Emotions her species had supposedly engineered away. She chewed slowly, as if trying to decode a language she had been told did not exist. When she swallowed, she sat perfectly still for 3 heartbeats. Then she opened her eyes and looked at Gabriel with an expression that shattered every assumption he had made about alien royalty. "What is this?" she whispered. "Beef," Gabriel said. "Ribeye. Grass-fed. Salt. Pepper. Heat. Time. No." Naira shook her head. The movement. Small. Human. "What is this?" She pressed a hand to her chest, where her heart would be if Azurian anatomy mirrored human. "This feeling." Luna smiled. The kind of smile that knows the answer before the question finishes. "That's flavor, isn't it, Daddy?" Gabriel nodded. "Flavor is memory, chemistry, story. It's everything your empire tried to delete." He met Naira's eyes. "But you can't delete it. You can only forget. And forgetting isn't the same as gone." A single tear traced down Naira's cheek, luminescent as her skin, impossible as rain in vacuum. And the galaxy watching held its breath. Ambassador Vexian moved like lightning given form. He descended the throne steps in 2 strides, his voice sharp enough to cut atmosphere. "Enough. This human has contaminated your judgment, Your Highness. We are leaving, now." But Naira did not rise. She cut another piece of the ribeye, slower this time, deliberate. The fork traveled to her mouth, and she ate with the focus of someone translating ancient text. The delegates erupted in whispers, hisses, clicks, that the translators struggled to pass. A princess defying her advisor. A princess eating like a human. "Vexian," Naira said, softly, her eyes still on the plate. "When did we stop?" The ambassador froze. "Your Highness? When did the Azurian Empire stop eating real food?" She looked up at him, and Gabriel saw something break open in her face. "I have studied our history, conquered worlds, technological marvels, expansion across 12 systems, but I cannot find the moment we decided that sustenance should not bring joy." Vexian's blue-tinted skin darkened. 317 years ago. The optimization protocols. We removed inefficiency. We chose evolution over indulgence. We chose control over truth, Naira said. The hall went silent. Even the translators seemed to pause, as if the words themselves needed time to settle. Dr. Tanaka stood frozen at the base of the steps, her face cycling through confusion, hope, and terror. Gabriel watched the princess, recognizing the exact expression she wore. He had seen it in his own mirror 3 years ago, the night he had chosen Luna over his restaurant, family over fame. The moment when everything you thought you wanted reveals itself as a cage you built with your own hands. Luna tugged his sleeve. "Daddy, why is the blue man angry?" "Because people don't like it when you stop pretending," Gabriel whispered back. Naira set down her fork and stood. She was taller than Gabriel had realized, her presence filling the space like a tide. But when she spoke, her voice carried no threat, only a question that trembled with decades of weight. Chef Santos, why did you risk everything to serve me this? Gabriel looked at his daughter, then back at the princess. Because 3 years ago, my wife was dying. Cancer. The last month, she couldn't keep anything down. Couldn't taste anything. She told me the thing she missed most wasn't being healthy. It was sitting at a table with people she loved, sharing a meal. Being human. He paused. She said, if you can't taste your life, you're not really living it. Naira's hand went to her chest again, pressing as if trying to hold something in. Your empire took that from you. No, Your Highness. Your empire took it from you. The words hung in the air like a verdict. Vexian stepped forward, his voice rising. This is manipulation, primitive, emotional exploitation. Your Highness, we have a duty. To what? Naira turned on him, her robes swirling like storm systems. To pretend we are superior because we have forgotten how to feel? To rule a galaxy while remaining numb to everything that makes life worth ruling? She looked around the hall at delegates from 100 worlds, many of them eating synthetic cubes, their faces empty of everything except efficient consumption. Look at them, Vexian. Look at us. We are not evolved. We are starving. The observation hall fractured into chaos. Delegates rose from their seats, appendages gesturing wildly, voices layering into a cacophony that the translators could not pass. Some demanded Naira's removal, others called for Earth's immediate expulsion. A Veyari senator collapsed, overwhelmed by the princess's heresy. Dr. Tanaka gripped the railing, her knuckles white, watching humanity's fate spin like a coin in midair. But Naira remained still, her gaze fixed on Gabriel with the intensity of someone solving an equation that had broken her civilization. You have more, she said. It was not a question. Gabriel nodded. I have enough for 12. Then feed them. Naira gestured to the delegates, her hand sweeping across the hall like a blessing or a challenge. All of them. Let them taste what they have forgotten. Vexian's voice cracked like a whip. Your Highness, this violates 17 summit protocols. High Chancellor Thornak will demand your crown for this. Then let him come and take it. Naira descended the throne steps, her movements fluid, purposeful. She stopped beside Luna, knelt until their eyes were level. Little one, will you help me learn to eat like a human? Luna's face lit up like a sunrise. You have to chew slowly, and talk between bites, and say thank you to the person who cooked it. I can do that, Naira said softly. Gabriel turned to the kitchen doors and raised his voice. Someone want to give me a hand? The doors opened. Human kitchen staff poured out, eyes wide, hands ready. They had been watching on monitors, had seen everything, had stood ready to either pack their knives or change the galaxy. Gabriel moved among them, giving orders with the calm authority of a general who had already decided the battle was worth fighting. Steaks emerged from the walk-in. 12 ribeyes, each one chosen with care, each one a declaration. Cast iron skillets heated until they sang, butter melted like liquid gold. Gabriel moved through the prep with Luna at his side, her small hands helping where they could, her presence a reminder of why any of this mattered. The delegates watched, hypnotized. Some had never seen food prepared. Some had forgotten. The smell filled the dome, rich and primal, breaking through centuries of sterile efficiency. A Threxian guard removed his helmet, his nostrils flaring. A Palarin diplomat wept quietly, remembering something she could not name. Naira stood among the kitchen staff, her crystalline robes pushed back, her hands washing under running water at Gabriel's instruction. We begin with clean hands, he told her. It's a sign of respect. For the food. For the people you're serving. She nodded, scrubbing with the dedication of a student learning sacred text. Vexian stood alone on the steps, his certainty crumbling. He activated a holographic communicator, his voice tight. This is Ambassador Vexian. I am requesting immediate intervention. The princess has been compromised. But the response came not from High Chancellor Thornak. It came from someone older, wiser, whose voice carried the weight of empires that had learned from their mistakes. "Let her eat, Vexian. Let them all eat. We have been hungry long enough." The line went dead. Vexian's hand fell to his side, his purpose dissolved, his certainty replaced by something that looked like relief. The steaks seared in perfect synchronization, 12 cast-iron skillets arranged like an orchestra, each one singing its own note of transformation. Gabriel moved between them with Luna shadowing his steps, her small hands carrying plates, her voice naming each delegate as they approached. "This one's for the Threxian guard. This one's for the crying lady. This one's for the senator who fainted." Naira stood at Gabriel's right hand, watching his every movement with the intensity of someone learning to read. He showed her how to check temperature with touch, how to rest meat so the juices redistributed, how patience was an ingredient no synthetic blend could replicate. She absorbed it all, her luminescent skin flickering with colors that might have been joy. The first plates went out. Delegates received them like artifacts, uncertain, reverent. The Threxian guard cut, a piece, ate, and his armor rattled with something between a sob and a laugh. The Palarin diplomat touched the meat to her lips and closed all 6 of her eyes, tears streaming down her face in patterns that spelled words in her language. Forgiveness, home, mother. One by one, the observation hall transformed. Delegates who had not spoken to each other in decades sat together, comparing bites, sharing wonder. A Veyari noble offered half his portion to a human server who had brought him synthetic cubes for 3 straight years. The server accepted, sat, ate beside him as equals. Dr. Tanaka stood at the edge of the kitchen, her tablet forgotten in her hands, watching her careful plans dissolve into something she had not dared imagine. Gabriel caught her eye and nodded. She nodded back, her smile small but genuine. Luna tugged Naira's robe. "You have to try it with the sauce Daddy made. It's got butter and herbs and garlic." Naira knelt. "Show me." Luna spooned a small amount onto the princess's plate, her tongue between her teeth in concentration. "Not too much. You want to taste the meat too. Balance, Daddy says. Everything's about balance." Naira ate. This time, when her eyes closed, she did not look pained. She looked found. When she opened them, she looked at Gabriel with something that transcended gratitude. "Chef Santos, in my empire, we have a word, Kithara. It means the one who shows you what you cannot see in yourself." She pressed a hand to her heart. "You are Kithara." Gabriel smiled. "In my kitchen, we just call it feeding people." Vexian approached slowly, his certainty gone. His posture no longer that of an ambassador but of a man who had just watched his world reshape itself. He looked at the empty plates, at the delegates laughing and weeping and remembering. "What have you done?" he whispered. Gabriel handed him a plate, the last ribeye, perfectly seared, rested, waiting. "I made dinner," he said simply. "Everything else was already there. Just needed someone to remind you." Vexian took the plate, his hands shook, and when he finally tasted it, he understood why empires fall and why they rise again. The holographic communicator blazed to life above the observation hall, its light cold and absolute. High Chancellor Thornak materialized, his form towering, his presence engineered to intimidate across light years. His face was angular as broken glass, his eyes the color of dead stars. Behind him, the Azurian Council sat in judgment, 12 figures carved from authority and tradition. "Princess Naira," Thornak's voice filled the dome like thunder contained. "You have violated protocol. You have consumed primitive sustenance. You have dishonored the optimization protocols that define our civilization." He paused, letting the weight settle. "You will return immediately, or you will be removed from succession." The hall went silent. Every delegate froze, forks halfway to mouths, wonder replaced by fear. This was the power that had kept the galaxy in line for 3 centuries. This was the fist inside the velvet glove. Naira stood slowly. Her plate sat before her, half finished, evidence of her heresy. Luna reached for her hand, and the princess took it without hesitation, drawing strength from a child who had already lost so much and chosen to remain brave. "High Chancellor," Naira said, her voice steady. "I have consumed food prepared with care by a father teaching his daughter about love. I have tasted something our empire erased from memory. I have felt what we were told was weakness." She looked around the hall at delegates who had been crying, laughing, remembering. "This is not weakness. This is what we lost when we chose efficiency over truth." Thornak's expression did not change. "You speak like a human, emotional, compromised, unfit. I speak like someone who finally remembered how to feel." Naira's luminescent skin blazed, colors shifting through the full spectrum. No longer controlled, no longer hidden. Our empire is not strong because we removed joy. It is fragile because we forgot why strength matters. "The council has deliberated," Thornak said. "If you do not return within the hour and submit to re-optimization, your title will be stripped, your bloodline removed from succession. You will become nothing." Gabriel stepped forward, positioning himself beside Naira. He should not have spoken. He had no rank here, no authority. But he had spent 3 years learning that the only power that mattered was the choice to stand beside those you loved when the world demanded you abandon them. "High Chancellor," Gabriel said quietly. "She'll still be herself. That's more than nothing. That's everything." Luna squeezed Naira's hand. "You can stay with us. Daddy makes really good pancakes." Thornak's eyes narrowed. "Princess, choose your crown or your heresy." Naira looked at the plate before her, at the delegates around her, transformed, at Luna's small hand in hers, at Gabriel, who had risked his world for truth. She looked at Vexian, whose face showed something she had never seen before. Hope that she would choose correctly, even if it destroyed everything they knew. She lifted her fork, cut one more piece, and ate. "I choose truth," she said. The hologram shattered into light. The hologram died, but its echo remained, a ghost of threat dissolving in the face of something stronger. Naira stood with Luna's hand in hers, her plate empty, her choice made. Around the observation hall, delegates rose not in protest but in solidarity. The Threxian guard removed his insignia and set it on his plate. The Palarin diplomat activated her own communicator, her voice carrying across systems. "The princess has chosen truth. So do I." One by one, others followed. Voices rose in languages Gabriel did not speak but understood perfectly. Rebellion tastes like ribeye at 129 degrees. Revolution smells like butter and garlic. Change begins when someone refuses to pretend anymore. Dr. Tanaka approached, her tablet clutched like a lifeline. "Santos, you just started a civil war." Gabriel smiled, tired and true. "I just made dinner. They started the rest." Within hours, the news spread like fire in oxygen. Across Azurian space, citizens watched footage of their princess eating human food, weeping human tears, choosing human truth. Some called it treason. Others called it liberation. In the outer colonies, where optimization had never fully taken hold, kitchens opened that had been sealed for generations. Old recipes emerged from hiding. Grandmothers taught grandchildren the names of spices the Empire had tried to erase. High Chancellor Thornak owned his fleet, prepared to enforce order. But the fleet commanders remembered meals from before optimization, remembered mothers and fathers who had cooked with love, and half of them refused the order. The council fractured. Some demanded Naira's execution. Others demanded Thornak's removal. The Empire, that had ruled through efficiency, discovered that efficiency breaks when people remember what they're living for. 3 weeks later, Naira stood in Gabriel's kitchen, flour on her hands, Luna teaching her to fold dough. She had not returned to Azuria. She had sent word instead. "I abdicate nothing. I reclaim everything we lost. Any who wish to remember are welcome to join me." Thousands came, then millions. The Galactic Council, which had planned to reject Earth, instead opened its doors. Not because humanity was perfect, but because humanity remembered how to be human. Vexian became the new liaison, his first act ordering supplies for a cooking school on the station where Gabriel taught delegates to sear, to rest, to taste. Luna placed a perfectly shaped dumpling on the tray and beamed. Naira placed hers beside it, lumpy but earnest. Gabriel looked at them and saw the future, imperfect and real. That night, under stars that no longer looked cold, they sat together at a table Gabriel had, built from reclaimed metal. 3 species, 1 meal. Laughter that needed no translation. Naira ate slowly, savoring each bite, and when Luna asked what she was thinking, the former princess smiled. "I am thinking," she said, "that your father did not save my empire. He reminded us, we were never meant to be empire. We were meant to be alive." Gabriel raised his glass. "To being alive." They echoed him, and the universe listened.